friends. Now, I'm always trying to think of a new way to begin to begin these broadcasts, um, instead of always saying the same greeting. But we're creatures of habit. My name is Dan Harrison. I'm your host. You're watching NuPath Live. Today is December 9th, and there's been a lot of stuff happening within the organization, and we want to use this forum as a venue, a means to reach our staff, as many as possible, to make them aware of some of the things that are happening. And more than that, for me, I'm a guy who really I want people to know sort of the behind the scenes if possible, because I realize that if you're working as part of a larger organization, an organization like NuPath, and you're communicated various decisions, things that happen. I know that people talk. I know that people conjecture what may be happening, what's going on behind the scenes. And I've found in my career that it almost always the stories that people are communicating one with the other about things that they may not know, are always seem to be more worse than what's actually happening. We give a lot of thought and contemplation to some of the bigger decisions and some of the smaller ones as well. The pandemic has been a series of challenges that have really that we haven't had a playbook for. And none of us, and believe me, you're working with some people that have been around a long time. That's all I'll say. I myself have been in this field for 35 years, and there's not something easily that I can compare much of what we're dealing with here. So some of it is, I guess you'd say, experimental, but a lot of thought goes into it. I have two of our brightest minds with us today, people that are working directly with our operations, and that is Karen Franklin, Dan Lannan. We're going to be talking to them today about some specific issues that are happening in each of their areas. But I want to start out by wishing my husband happy birthday yesterday. John Baldarelli is also did a Facebook. I meant to get a screenshot so I could share it with you, but he raised something like $240 for NuPath through Facebook. I don't do Facebook, so I don't know how that works, but he wanted to know whether or not he could reserve it, put his money aside for the walk campaign in the spring. So I guess we're doing it. Hopefully we will be. Anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to bring Karen Franklin on to talk to us. Karen is our Vice President of Human Resources and somebody that has had a busy year. Karen Franklin, welcome. How are you?
Very good. Hi, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. The weather there looks a little nicer than here. Well, it was sunny earlier.
Yeah, I see that sun shining in my face.
How are you? Everything's going well for you?
Everything is going well.
Good. So, as you know, I don't have to tell you, you've had a full docket this past year. In fact, if you were looking at your LinkedIn profile, maybe you want to go back and tweak some of the edges, because you've got a lot more experiences to add to that profile than maybe you did a year ago. But I want to start with the vaccine mandate and just kind of to acknowledge the fact that we launched this push to become fully vaccinated a few months ago with a deadline of November 19th. There's some staff that may be wondering, the outcome of that. We had used, according to our records, 23 people that exited the organization because they had chosen not to receive the vaccine, which is something that we said was mandatory to continue employment with us. And so in some cases, I know people are wondering where people may be, or they haven't seen people. There hasn't been, communication, or maybe there's recruitment efforts, something else that's indicated that something may have happened. And we can't really announce the details, can we, Karen? But suffice to say, we're in the process of making final decisions and negotiating some of the final details. But do you have anything to say about that, or to add to it? I don't like this idea that people are left wondering, that people just disappear in the night, that there are, these things that are not communicated. But we do have certain things that compel us to maintain privacy for our employees.
Yeah, and I think we spent a long time prepping employees for what was about to take place, right? It happened over the course of a couple months, not just a short time frame. And I think that what we noticed a lot was employees were sharing their situation with their colleagues and letting them know that their last day would be the 19th and that they wouldn't be moving forward with NuPath due to the vaccine mandate. But you are correct. There could be a few people who kept that information private, and it is our responsibility to keep any medical information private and not share that. But if there is somebody missing, it very well likely could be because of the mandate.
Mm. And when we're able to, we'll provide details related to anything specific that people need to know as part of their employment with NuPath. But I guess the way you could look at it is if we're not sharing personal details about somebody, then we won't be doing that with you if the circumstance should arise. So we're continuing to test, Karen. I know this is something that has been a major source of attention and investment of time and energy. How are we doing with that?
So we're doing great. We have to test everybody in congregate care, which means people who work in our residential and anybody that could possibly pick up a shift in residential. So some of our day hab staff and anybody else who might have to go into our residential programs. So in the month of November, we tested 741 people. So between HR checking people in and the nurses and the nursing team doing the tests ourselves, we conduct tests twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and getting everybody that we need to get tested every week. And that is a mandate that came from DDS. We're not aware that that would be stopping even with a vaccine mandate. It is still something that they want to put in place.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work each week to make sure that we get everybody tested, but it is keeping us safe from a positivity. Maybe about 7 in the month of November, which if you look at some of the other organizations, some of the numbers have been bigger. Some of the numbers have been bigger in surrounding, states or counties, but we've been very fortunate. We did have a few positives this week, but again, happens in small numbers at NuPath.
You said a few. I think I heard 7. Is that right?
7, that was for the whole month of November, but we did have 3 this week.
Oh, 3 this week. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dan's gonna be on in the second half of the show. We're gonna talk a little bit more about our thinking around the increase in the incidence of positive cases. We know that the positivity rate in Massachusetts has climbed to a 4.46, I think it was. This is a huge increase from where we were maybe even 6 months ago or 9 months ago. And it's something that I know that Massachusetts is watching carefully. Of course, we are mandated, by them to follow certain observances and guidelines according to, or I should say, in accordance with what the positivity rates are in various counties and so on. So some of the decisions are taken out of our hands, but there are certain elements of it that I believe we are able to make decisions about regarding our approach to what this means for us all in a post-pandemic landscape. So we're not going to get too deep into it. And by the way, I completely screwed everything up. We were talking before we went live, and I said I was going to start with something else, and then I did the exact reverse of what I said I was going to do. So I appreciate you rolling with it. But let's just mention next week we have a small holiday party scheduled for our employees, and I've been told that there are staff that are in Westford, hey Westford, Martin Center, hey Martin Center, throughout our residential network, New Boston Street, didn't forget you guys. That when I heard that we had something like 60 odd staff that had RSVP'd, in spite of this new Omicron variant that we've been hearing about, that we still have yet to learn some of the particulars, but we do know it's very contagious and perhaps, we don't know, but perhaps not as harmful or deadly. But when I heard there were 60 odd people that wanted to be there at a Christmas party, those numbers are good under any circumstances. People have busy lives. And I thought, if 60 people want to party, I'm down to party with them. So we decided we're not going to cancel it in spite of what other organizations are doing. Of course, that could change next week. But what do you think about that? We're going to talk later with Dan. But what do you think about it?
No, I think you're absolutely right. We also wanted to use that opportunity to talk about the longevity and bring some of the longevity awards with us. We made it a staff only. We talked about earlier the fact that we are all vaccinated, so we know that we have that. And I know that people can still get COVID and be vaccinated, but one thing about NuPath staff is they want to have a good time. They've worked hard all year and they are excited to finally get out and have a party, you know, outside of the work area. We've established that it would be off work premises, right? So I think staff are excited and looking forward to some recognition for them and some relaxed time with their coworkers.
Yeah, relaxed time. Does that translate to, I don't know, open bar? No, kidding.
Right.
In case anybody was on the fence. Yeah, as I said, we're going to talk a little bit more about it with Dan, because this really was kind of a larger conversation that we were having as a leadership team, and how the decisions we make perhaps influence and shape behavior of our employees, there's nothing more important than our employees and the people we serve. Without our employees, especially, you talked about longevity, the number of people that have been with us for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, in spite of the darkest hours of this workforce crisis and everything that we've been suffering as a result of the pandemic, you just can't discount how much it means to have that kind of longevity with an organization, and for their families that are used to it. So I'm glad we're going to be doing that, but setting a kind of a standard, if you will, or this is, hey, this is what we have now. We have to live in this world, and as you say, we'll all be vaccinated, and I think that we're going to be asking that everybody get tested on Tuesday. Is that right? We're asking that? Maybe Dan will tell us, but if you can come with a test, that would be even a better thing to do. Karen, I want you to talk to me about the union agreement that we reached this past week. We've been sitting on the ARPA money that people talk about. You and your cohort has worked so hard. Talk to us about how it ended up.
So we have a unionized staff. We usually have a 3-year contract. The contract has been not expired. I mean, it's still in place, but it should have been negotiated last year. But due to COVID, we couldn't do that. So we were able to coordinate that this year. And there were a lot of little different factors, like you just mentioned, ARPA funding and things like that. So we've reached what's called the Tentative Agreement, which means their side and our side have come to an agreement on wages, on some new policies and procedures, new holiday structure, and some bonuses that we really, I should say that you've wanted to get into the hands of the people now, but we had to iron out the contract first. So the way that works is we're in the process of comparing what's called a tentative agreement to make sure that either side didn't misinterpret what they heard in the verbal agreements. Once that is voted on by the staff, it's called ratified. And as soon as it's ratified, payroll has already got the reports ready with the dollar amounts and is ready to get these pay increases, these bonuses into the hands of our staff, because that's what you've wanted all along, to ensure that people get this before the holidays. So we are ready. We're just waiting for those last few things to be finalized.
You're in human resources because you make things sound so much better or nicer than how maybe they were from the original source. I've been a little grumpy about not being able to get money to people, as you know, a little frustrated sometimes by the I've got to be careful what I say here. I want our staff to have all the money they deserve. And I have been just chomping at the bit to get money into the hands of our employees that need it the most, that deserve it the most. Other organizations have given out bonuses and raises. We've been in the process of this negotiation which has taken longer. Well, I've just been grumpy. I guess Karen says, "Oh, is that what you call it? Is that what you call it?" So if this could get ratified soon, because what I want people to have money before Christmas.
Right.
And there's one more payroll, so that means, and I probably shouldn't, told I shouldn't say this, but we're talking about a week from Wednesday at the latest. So if you're out there listening and you want to know what your union has negotiated for you, pick up the phone and call or talk to one of the people that were there. And we thank them for their service. By the way, there was a cohort of people that were representing our bargaining unit. These guys, I love these. There's not a sense in not one tiny little bit of me that feels that I want to hold money or keep money back. We entered into the season of negotiations and trying to kind of coming off the heels of a difficult year with the commitment to invest a significant amount of money into our staff to make sure our salaries and benefits remain highly, competitive within the industry. And we've invested something like $1.3 million into salaries and our employees, or will be, once the union settles this thing and signs the contract, which is an increase in our staffing and employment payroll of over 10%. So I'm not telling you anything you didn't know, but thank you for representing all of this with the smile that you have, and in a much nicer way than I would. Last thing, quick, we're doing a survey because we want to know what people think about their employment. Can you just talk about that briefly? Then we're going to go right to Dan.
Yeah, so we haven't done a survey in a while, right? Because we had COVID, and COVID kind of put that year stop on everything. We want to know what people think. We want to know that they feel supported, that they feel part of a team. Like we just got done saying, we have 44 longevity awards this year. That's pretty impressive. So we do have a very long tenure here. So you're going to get a text blast message. It's done through SurveyMonkey. When I say it's simple, it is simple, quick, and easy. You can do it right on your phone. You can do it on a computer. And we're just going to ask you just some basic questions about how everything's been going for you, how you view the benefits and your management team and your colleagues. And then there's even a spot at the end where you can actually type in something that you want to share. So please pay attention to your text message and your emails. We really do want to hear from you, and it's going to be important that we know how you're feeling right now.
Karen, you're terrific. Thank you so much for just sticking with it. And you're, like I said earlier, your upbeat and positive spirit, it really does wear off on people, and that's so important. And to your entire team for working as hard as they have in helping you see our way through this past year and past 22 months. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Karen.
Bye, everybody.
All right. I talked to Dan Lannan before we started this. He seemed a little, what shall I say, surly? That's not fair. Just before
that's not fair. That's not fair.
No, it's been it's been a tough year. Dan, before we start, I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of your mother. It's something that's close to me in the sense that I've been through it. I know, and we extend our heartfelt condolences to you and your family, and I know your mother was a amazing person. She had you.
That she did.
We have heard a thing for you. I mean that. No, I mean that sincerely. You were I don't know where we'd be without you. So anyway.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so many people, sent nice, text messages and emails and cards and it's something I wish never happened. I wish she could have lived forever, but I knew that reality. I knew that wasn't a reality, and we're lucky we had her as long as we had her and got to enjoy it. I think for anybody, these last couple of years have been brutal, but just to see what it's done to so many people. And my parents were both firsthand affected so much by it. Everything they did and knew and loved was, taken away in their last years, and that's the part that sucks. But we have a lot of good memories, a lot of good stories, and I have a big family, so sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But yeah, thank you.
Dan, I was at your mother's funeral, and you just provided a beautiful and just really moving tribute to your mother on behalf of your family, and shared some of those really poignant memories that you had. I just wanted to say how much I appreciated that. I remember you telling me about your parents, because our parents were, my mother and father were somewhat contemporaries of yours, and then of course mine both passed, and then your father passed earlier this year, your mother then just recently. But I remember you telling me about, as their life situation had changed, they still like to go out for their dinners out, their drinks out, and when your father could no longer drive, how he learned to take an Uber in order.
That's right. Yeah.
So that he didn't have to rely on one of his children to take him, and that made me love that man so much. I just thought that is one cool dude. He was.
Yeah. He was 87 years old, and he said, I don't want to have people cart me around. I have to tell me when it's time to leave. So he wanted to make sure that he learned how to do Uber, and he's ended up only using it, I think, two or three times, and I think one of the times it was sort of, we all just agreed to let him use it, and the other two times he just used it himself, just took the initiative. So yeah, they certainly, they raised 7 kids, so
yeah.
That itself is not easy, and I think when their time came, the kids were grown and raised, they certainly took advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah.
And made up for lost time. So
well, anyway, you've been through a lot, and on top of the year that we've had from a pandemic perspective and all of that, you have nevertheless maintained provided you're the guy that helps us figure out how we're going to do stuff, how we're going to get stuff done, how you're going to help coordinate efforts and behind the scenes and in front of the scenes and on the side of the scenes, and you've got an amazing team that supported you and that has helped NuPath reach this point that we're in. I wanted to talk to you about, well, we only have a couple of minutes. We have like 7 minutes. So that's probably good for you. You're probably psyched that you don't have to get too deep into it. I want to acknowledge that we're going through licensing right now. Don't want to spend a lot of time. We'll have Ted come and join us maybe next week or in the near future, tell us how it all went down. But to the staff that are out there helping us see our way through this, thank you. I know it's a lot of extra work. We appreciate it on behalf of the organization. Did you want to say anything about that, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things, if I could. I know you touched on a few things with Karen, but certainly licensing is happening now, and certainly it's a different type of licensing this year than years past, but equally as important. And I think the dedication of the staff and teams and what at times is with short team members at times, various people just weren't able to give the same amount of time they did in the years past to prepare for licensing. But nursing and the residential team and day service team, they all once again came together and made it happen. And from all accounts, it sounds like it's going well. So that we're so thankful and we're so lucky. And and I think which goes hand in hand with licensing, I think, is the union contract, for which you talked to Karen about, and that but we're just waiting for it to get voted in. I think as these you talk about team, and I wouldn't be able to do any of this, or the kind words that you shared with me or about me. I think it all starts from the direct care staff. Like when we are sitting in those union negotiations, and there's staff that have been with NuPath for 20 something years, or some staff 10 years, and now permanent staff where they were just relief staff before. All of them, all the staff that took their time out to join the union as representatives and help negotiate a contract, because a lot of times, and I've said it before, I feel like we're negotiating with ourselves. We're negotiating with staff that we want to give as much as we possibly can to continue to retain them and have them stay with NuPath and stay as committed. And I think we both left with an agreement that we both feel comfortable with. You mentioned the dollar amount of 1.3 million. That we have to sustain that, right? So that's our challenge, and that's the challenge thrusted upon us over the next couple of years to be able to figure out how we we can make sure we're good stewards and can maintain that. And so I'm just thankful that everyone left happy, or at least in agreement, and all staff, hopefully, there's not enough we could probably do for them for what they've done over the last 2 years, but we've certainly tried to thank them and show them appreciation.
I agree with you 1,000%. And it goes without saying that we would be nothing without our staff. So we're very anxious to give the very best that we can. So much of what is happening now in this, I'll say it again, post-pandemic landscape is further challenged by the workforce crisis that people are becoming more familiar, probably hearing about. And that's just the inability that we're having of recruiting qualified people. We've been talking about this for months and months. We've been trying every form of recruitment bonus possible and sign-on bonus, and without great impact as of yet. We're sure hoping that is something that improves.
So I guess if I could just interject one thing, and I think you and we actually had a conversation about this at the end of last week. We haven't seen great success in the recruitment aspect of it, and I think that's systemic. That's not just our industry wide. We hear many industries suffering that they're not getting applications, and they're short staffed. And but I think what I have sort of kept reflecting on this week and over the last couple of weeks is hearing the stories of some other providers that have closed 1 or 2 day programs, or has consolidated residential units because of short staffing, and them just not being able to retain their current staff, taking opportunities. And like I said, I don't know if there's enough we could do to really truly thank everyone for everything they did, or know everything that they did. But we've tried to do that, and I think we've been fortunate and we've been lucky, and a lot of staff have stayed with us, and hopefully they're staying with us because they know they matter, and that they're appreciated and they're making a difference. And I think that for us is something we easily overlook, but that is definitely something that's true. When I'm talking to other providers and they talk about the number of key positions they've lost in their agencies, and even on the ADDT call this week, we heard about some other people retiring and moving on from different agencies and positions because it's exhausting. No one wanted a pandemic, and finding our way through it becomes certainly a difficult challenge. Well,
Daniel, I agree with that. I had hoped that we were going to spend some of this debating some other issues that you're just as happy. If you logged on today looking for as I said, some sort of a disagreement on air. Now that we have disagreement, well, not about this, but part of the conversation is really
we can save that for the series finale of the year, right? We can do that the last episode of the year.
Yeah, well, you planned it right. We got 1 minute, less than a minute left.
So timed it perfect.
You did, and I know it was on purpose. So let's say this. We are planning on hosting the holiday party next week. I already said that. It's been done with lots of discussion and thoughts about it. Does it make sense? As I said earlier, we may change our mind because we are always looking to make the best decision we possibly can with information as it becomes available. But if you do come and you get tested on Tuesday, remember, we're going to do everything we can to ensure that we all remain safe and COVID-free as a fully vaccinated organization. And Dan will be there in a reindeer costume. Dan, maybe not that. So
with bells on, I'll be there with bells on in the holiday.
So come on down, guys. It's been a long time since we partied together and had a good time. You're terrific, Dan, Lannan. Thank you for joining us today. And we will talk to you. I don't know what we're doing next week because that's the date the night of our party, a week from tonight. So, but we'll figure it out. All right, guys, we got
All right.
this. Talk
Thank
to
you.
you soon. Bye-bye.